Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a great day. We're just taking a quick look here at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on, and if there's any changes from when we last reviewed this here. Again, just to touch on it here, we had this liquidity sweep from Monday that has officially been swept out, and there's a good chance we could see a pullback because of that, now that that's officially been filled. Okay. Now, there's no guarantees, but I do think there's a decent chance we could see the 28,000, low 28,000 range retested as a potential reality. But once more, we want to look at a few other key factors to make sure we understand. So if you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor, really love to teach people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. We're going to take a look here, of course, at some liquidation levels on our charts through high block capital data. And just to quickly note too, we also have really awesome things going on over here. We took a nice little long trade there from Algorand here recently, a nice KNC long as well. And then previous to that, of course, Solana, nice long there for about 93%. As you can see, the list goes on there for the profits. While there are occasional stop losses that occur, the profits come much more frequently. So again, Crypto Cash Premium, link down below for my Trading Academy community and Signals group. All right, so when it comes to Bitcoin, the important thing to recognize here, and we're going to look at the bigger picture here, just kind of note a few things because we got some positive signs, okay? So when we look at the weekly, just kind of highlight a few key factors. We are above the 20-day SMA, and if we take a look at the larger time frame, we're also above the 200-day SMA. It's right there, coincidentally, at 20,200. That's right there at that support level. We might see a pullback to. Again, don't think it's going to necessarily drop to that level just yet, but that is a potential reality. We need to be aware of that, okay? So the true key takeaway here is that if we can close above 20,200 this week, we're going to be in much better shape than we were the week prior. Because again, we had 3 or 4 days of consolidation right at that resistance level. Now we're above. That's a pretty good sign. We're also bounced soundly off of 50 on the RSI. That's a perfect situation. Ultimately, the weekly looks very good. Let's jump up to the monthly just to double check a couple things. We can see a similar scenario here. Only difference is lower support levels, 26,500 for the 50-day SMA. And then, of course, we got this nice little increase above 50 on the RSI. Once again, this monthly candlestick hasn't closed. We got 11 days left, but we are definitely on the right side of tracks. So the truth is here, we're looking fairly bullish in both regards on both the monthly and the weekly, okay? That's a good sign. It does kind of lead a little bit more towards or lean towards the October that, notoriously we're looking at there. Again, on my Twitter, we do have, we'll have to go back and pin it for you guys, but there is, I sent out a chart that kind of highlights the months that we see the most growth, and Bitcoin grows second best in October and the most amount of increase in November, okay? So if you recall, a couple of years ago, we saw that massive, almost 70,000 tested by Bitcoin. That's essentially what Bitcoin is capable of in November. Okay, so just be mindful of that. We got some good green months here, likely coming up between now and the end of the year. That said, though, on the daily, what does this tell us here? Well, we kind of are testing 70 in the RSI, and if we look at its history, for example, most of the times when Bitcoin comes up to 70, it'll return. 1, 2, 3, see here, 4 of the last 5 attempts to break 70 on the RSI, Bitcoin has remained below. Okay, so that's a good thing to understand here because statistically we are due for the price to pull back from here. Okay, so as much as I want the price to blast off, I think it's more likely to presume that we're going to see the price kind of taper off a little bit. Now, just because the RSI comes down or the price stays under 70 on the RSI doesn't mean the price has to drop. It just means the price will probably go sideways and then perhaps leg up from there once the RSI has cooled down. But right now, it's considered to be overbought, which is why we're seeing some selling pressure at 30,000. Yeah. So again, just some things to kind of think about there. Looking at the MACD, of course, we got a strong convergence, and of course, we're also above the nice little 250 and the 20-day SMA. Okay, so all 3 of them are down below. Once more to note, the 200-day SMA on the daily, which is a pretty strong indicator, we're looking at 28,000 even for that guy. Okay? Once more, reaffirming that as a support level. Okay? So all good stuff there for Bitcoin. More likely potential for the price action to stay above 20,000 than to break below. Okay, so good stuff there. As far as the other indicators we want to look at here on the 4-hour, this is where things I wouldn't say get too interesting because we had this previous overextension, but let's talk about that here. So we hit a 9 on TD sequential here. Price goes sideways. We just hit a 9 on TD sequential here. We're going sideways and down. Okay. So in truth, most of the time, what happens when you hit an overextended state, the price will pull back to the most recent high. Okay, so again, we can see some high levels here where the price action hit these levels here at about 28,900. There's a good chance we'll see a bounce off that point, the 0.786 Fibonacci, and continue higher. I wouldn't expect a lot from this weekend from Bitcoin. It's very common for the price action to kind of plateau, but generally speaking, that's what we're looking at here, where the price action is due for a bit of a correction. According to Elliott Wave, it is speculating that we're going to see a 0.382 revisited, which is possible, but not 100% probable. Okay, so again, just because it's possible doesn't mean it could happen, but we won't expect the worst, hope for the best, right? Let's go ahead and circle around to our high block capital data here, just on the back end. Quickly good perspective on liquidation levels here. And these little dots kind of just tell us what the most amount of longs and or shorts are poised. So right now we see a ton of longs at about 27,500. Okay, so again, all these early longs are just keeping their position open. We haven't seen a tremendous amount of new longs with newer liquidation levels coming up. That does imply that there's less longs entering the market right now, and they're just kind of riding out those profits. We also can see here there's a lot of short liquidation levels right there, exactly at 30,300. So my speculation here is that as soon as the price wicked up to 30,200, they entered some shorts, and they have some pretty high leverage shorts right there at 30,200. Okay? That's pretty strong likelihood, but that range is all the way up to 31,100 as well. So got a pretty large range when it comes to this here. Okay? So that range is nice. It's good to have that. But generally speaking, at this point, we can see that the price wicks up a little bit. We'll see a short squeeze, and the price will probably go a lot faster in the upside there. Obviously, the last couple of days, we've seen a lot more shorts getting liquidated than longs, which is positive, of course, to the upside. And we can obviously see that there's less shorts in the market, generally speaking, here at this point. So all in all, things are looking pretty darn good here for Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take a look at the heat map here, kind of to see what's going on too. I like to go back for the month, because once more, we do want to reaffirm a few things here. Because once more, there's a lot of liquidation there at about 26,000. Okay, so that hasn't changed at all. That's going to remain the same until it doesn't. But just know that market movers are pretty greedy, and they do see a lot of juicy targets down there. They could very well sell the pressure all the way down to that level, and we'll see a massive drop if that happens. I don't think that is, as the price continues to average itself up, it's less likely for that to happen. Okay? What's more likely is to see a retracement to 29,000, obviously, because there's a lot of value that needs to be filled. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the fair value here, just to kind of get perspective. It's not a ton, but it's definitely enough to notice. We got a decent sized fair value gap right there between 28.9 and 29.1. Okay, so this little guy here, strong likelihood we're going to see that retested. So a lot of times the price will come down, then do a little wick, and then come back up. That's oftentimes the case with a pattern there. Just bear in mind too, between 27.3 and 27.6, also another fair value gap that has yet to be filled. Okay? Just note, previous fair value gaps have been filled, okay, for the selling side, but the buying side fair value gaps are still open. Okay? So again, just something to understand. If the price were to come back down, those would be levels that could get filled. Okay? So just know, market movers are pretty greedy, and today's candlestick hasn't closed yet, so just be mindful that we could very well see some aggressive behavior when the trading day is coming to an end. That said, 4-hour time frame, we're overextended once more as per usual. Taking a look at TD sequential, we hit our second 9 here. Pullback would make a ton of sense. I'm not saying you necessarily need to get short heavy right now, because there's a lot of momentum to the upside, not a lot of selling pressure, but it would make sense for the price to retest the 29 upper 28K range than it would to break 30,000 just yet, considering the fact that we haven't fulfilled this full pattern. What I mean by that too is there are some patterns you could argue, you could even say this is a pretty ugly cup and handle pattern. It's kind of there, right? A little bit. But regardless of that fact, the key takeaway here is that you retest this level, and it takes at least a second or third reattempt to break through that. Okay, so again, I don't think 30,200 will be broken immediately. It'll take a lot of volume to do that, but I also wouldn't be surprised at this rate. Okay, so taking a look at the volume, just to quickly note, let's go ahead and kind of zoom out. This is roughly the last couple months here, roughly since beginning of September, so just say a month and a half. We can see the most amount of volume at about 26,600. And then the secondary amount, again, they're kind of little sporadic little areas here, but we can see roughly at about 28,000. We have a decent amount of support too. So volume is good. It's staying consistent. That's the main reason why we're remaining to the upside here. Okay. Key takeaway here is that we have a lot of volume in the most recent past above that moving average. All the more reason why this price should be sustainable. Okay. We start to see volume taper off, come down below that moving average, the price will likely come down with it. Okay. So again, it's interesting to see what's happening here, but once more, the liquidity has been filled. Okay. Last but not least, let's take a quick look at the hourly and call it a day here for us. We want to note here really quick where we're at with the cloud. All green lights to effectively leave your long position open. Just know within the next 12 hours, if the price remains the same, which it probably will once we hit the weekend, right? Keep in mind weekends go pretty steady, or just kind of very inactive. We'll probably likely want to consider closing our long positions. Okay. So to my community members who still have a long open from previous, I would recommend considering taking some profits if you haven't already relatively soon. The likelihood of the price breaking to 35, 40,000 in the immediate future seems less likely. But once again, we shot from 28 to 30,000 almost instantly. So again, things can happen pretty fast. But according to this indicator, letting us know that we should have some decent progress here soon. But all in all, nothing too terrible here for this coin. Definitely looking pretty good in the overall sense of things. So that is kind of where we're at there. Very last thing we could reference, just really quick here, is Bitcoin dominance. It is hitting its all-time high here within the last year. Okay, so this is the highest point in which it's been within the last year. Kind of broke that 52% range. Okay. Now what that basically just means for us is that alts were recently bleeding. Today they caught a little bit of a surge because we shot a bunch of money into the market. But the truth is, when Bitcoin increases and the dominance increases, interesting things can happen on the back end. Let me go ahead and show you really quick in our education section here. And this is all available through our Discord. But you want to watch out. Bitcoin dominance is up and the price is up. If we remain at this current price point or higher going into the weekend, we could very well see some altcoins come down. The main reason why is because money comes from alts, goes into Bitcoin. Bitcoin topping out right now, hypothetically, we could see altcoins stabilize. But my anticipation is that we could see a red weekend this weekend from alts, mainly because they're surging right now. Okay, so if you're going to choose to short some coins this weekend, I would recommend considering some altcoins, just because they're probably more likely to move faster to the downside than Bitcoin would be. Okay, again, just some things there, of course, to recognize. It's not always 100%, but helpful little tools in your pocket. So I hope that made sense and I described this correctly. If you could help us, like, follow, subscribe. Greatly appreciate the growth there, of course. Discord, Twitter, and Telegram are all available for you. Those are my public groups, and obviously you want to become part of our private group. CryptoCash.tech is a site linked down below for our trade signals community and academy. We are going to start having limitations on how many members are going to come over, just to ensure we have that one-on-one with you guys. So again, be sure to jump on in there soon. We got a lot of new registrations here recently. Welcome aboard. Look forward to work with you. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.